All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and kick back off. Up next, we have Dr. Theoneste Nzaramyimana. He is the assistant professor for urban agriculture at KSU. His research interests are in developing programming to identify and provide solutions for farmers and professionals to impact the global food system. Some of the specific areas include urban farming and youth programs, small farms, extension and engagement methods, and community development, experiential methods, and the integrated evaluation of STEM learning in formal and informal programs. So he's going to be talking to us about annual vegetable production.
Hello, everybody. It's good to be here, and I can't thank enough for the person who put me after lunch, because I was so hungry. If I was going to talk before lunch, you could see me collapsing down. So it's really good that I was placed after lunch. So I'm Theo, as you heard, and I'm a new professor. Only 4 months. I moved from Purdue University. I was teaching at Purdue University, classes like sustainable food farming system and urban farming and intro to horticulture. So I'm going to talk a lot about vegetables and fruits, but the topic is a little bit general. If you want really for me to go deep, we can have one-on-one meeting so that we can talk, because it's very, very intense, and you can't talk everything about fruits and vegetables. So, yeah. So let's go back and check the facts. Little facts about why are we talking about fruits and vegetables? Why are we here? That's the question. Why are we here, and why are we talking about fruits and vegetables? The vegetables and fruits are believed to lower blood pressure. Very, very good in lowering blood pressure. Reduce risk for heart diseases and stroke. Prevent some types of cancer. Yeah, there are some vegetables like kale, edamame soybean. It's a green soybean. Really, I believe to play a big role in preventing some cancer type. Lower risk for eye and digestive problems because they have some ravages, and so vegetables and fruits are really very, very important. That's why we are here talking how we can grow. And once we grow them, we don't sell them. We also eat them. That's the main goal. When you are planning to grow vegetables either for selling or for just home consumption, there are things you have to put in mind there, what you have to do. One of the things is start planning and budgeting, whether it's just for home consumption. Guess what? It needs money. You need to buy raised bed, you need to buy seeds. You don't get them out there. You get good quality of seeds. You need to, if the woods or the plywood, so you need to buy those plywoods. So you need to budget, and you are taking from your income, the money. So it's needed for both profit and non-profit farm or garden. So there's always a need of money. And you need to put into consideration a projected income for the farm, garden, profitability, anticipated fixed assets. What are the anticipated fixed assets you need? potential source of funding, and if there's any potential risk for the start up the production. Is there any risk? Then, yeah, you can go ahead and start working on your, next step. So, also put in mind, what are the physical resources needed? These are how much land will you need? What is the first thing you have to have as a farmer? Most important thing to have as a farmer. Sorry, I try to behave like I'm teaching in the class, so I like to teach. I ask a lot of questions. Yeah, so the most important thing, asset, is a land. Either you are doing hydroponics, the hydroponics kit, it will be your land. If you are doing raised bed, that's your land. If you are doing soil, that's your land. So land is the most important thing, because that is what we use for growing crops. Crops don't grow in the air. So you have to have a land in order for you to grow those vegetables and fruits. Are there known or potential environmental issues on the property that will require assessment or cleanup on the property? So putting in mind that when you want to grow vegetables and fruits, you need to make sure that the products from that area are safe and healthy. Because if it's contaminated soil, you are poisoning yourself, and you can't sell it if you want to do it for for selling. You can't sell it if its soil is contaminated. Require specific farming techniques to address. So if you have to know the area and say, okay, here I was talking to one of the ladies on my table. And she said, my garden is very low, so I need to do raised bed. So you need to start planning ahead of time. Am I going to put the raised bed? Am I going just to do planting and move forward? If there's erosion in that area, it's going to come and take away all your vegetables and fruits. So you need really to assess. Look the area. Make sure that the area is good for you to grow the stuff on. Also, the grant journey, I think she will tell you more about this. As I said, you need money, even if it's for home consumption. If you want to grow to sell, you need more money. You need input. It's your money to purchase the material, the equipment, everything. So these are some of course, there's a lot of grant opportunity for small farmers, which you can access. These are some of them, they are local and national grants. Some are competitive, others are not competitive. So just work with your local extension officers who will help you to know what kind of grant you can access to be able to cut off the cost of your production. Because it can be hard when you want to start. Some start, they went in the middle. When they see it's really tough to produce, they stop. Don't stop what you have been dreamed to do. So make sure that you really reach out, you access those, get access to those opportunities, resources in extension. There are people out there who are employed to bring those resources closer to you. Use them. That's why we are here. Connect, network. You find those who are in charge of providing even grants. It's not what you know, who you know. Yeah. So, another thing to put in mind when you are producing these fruits and vegetables, location. What does the location look like? Consider drainage. If it's in a flooded area, of course, the nutrients are going to be depleted. Whenever water comes and stays for forever, if you got a chance to go in the farm where there's a waterlogged area, you find that corn and soybean, they don't grow well. Why? The nutrients are depleted, and there's no nutrient, and the water comes, there's no air circulation in the roots, so they die. So consider that as a key when you're growing. 8 hours full sun, yeah, you need to consider. You don't put your vegetables and hide them under the shade. And guess what? You're not going to harvest anything. You plant, I got a chance to do a little garden, but there was a big tree closer to the garden. I planted, and I went to harvest. It was a bad experience. It was potatoes. I harvested cherries instead of potatoes. I ended up harvesting the cherries. Why? They didn't have enough sun. Even if you put fertilizer, everything, but there's no sun, so they cannot do photosynthesis. They cannot manufacture the food to go down in the roots. So consider the sun. If you are growing indoor, consider buying from Amazon. There are some lights, LED, which are really less expensive, but they can help you to be able really to equate what the amount of the sun the plant can need. So also, you need to consider a place where it's close to water. Water is needed. These fresh and fruits and vegetables, they need a lot of water. So you need to consider putting closer to water where you can easily irrigate. Here we only have one growing season if you are growing outside. It's spring/summer, and that window, June, July, August. If you take vegetables and if you go to the vacation, you leave vegetables unattended, you come and tell me what you find in your field. So you will regret why you even farm. So you need to put water, and there's some technologies right now. You can put a timer, just simple and less expensive. A timer you put in the tape, you don't need to waste even water. So those are the technologies which are available. Deep, well-drained, and uncontaminated soil. Why deep and well-drained? Why drained? Because air circulation is needed. Worm circulation is needed. These plants, they need air movement. The roots, they grow well, there's air circulation. If you plant your fruits and vegetables in clay soil, you are not harvesting anything. You'll be like me who harvests the cherries instead of potatoes. Yeah. Very, very true that you not harvest anything. So if you see your soil is clay, what do? You do what we call soil amendment. You try to put, organic matter. You try to put sand inside to make sure that you create air circulation in the soil. There are many ways you can amend your soil. And it has to be away from pests and diseases, which sometimes you can grow well, your fruits and vegetables, they can come out well. You have done everything. Then one day you forget to close the gate. 5 deers get inside of your corn, sweet corn. You will tell me you will quit farming again. Yeah, yeah. Rabbits, they can come and enjoy your carrots until you say, no, farming is not for me. So make sure your farm is really, you keep, either you prevent them. There are different ways you can prevent these pests and diseases. Some is to put fencing, and there's also some kind of gadget which, like whenever an animal comes around, they scare the rabbit, they scare everything, these deer. So make sure that you put that into consideration, and you can lose the whole crop because of this. Yeah. Is it accessible? Your garden, your little farm, can you access it easily? If it's somewhere where, if, for example, the one who's disabled cannot access it as the person who have to work there, then that is really not easy. You have to put into who's going to work there, and can it be accessible? If you have to climb a tree to go to the garden, that is not accessible. Yeah, if it's on the hill and is sliding, that's not accessible. So think about how am I going to access. If you have to drive a little tractor and it's hilly, and you cannot really go up, so think about that. And away from heavy traffic, there are some studies which are showing that, these smoke from vehicle exhausts, really, they release some particles which can be harmful to the plant and can be harmful to us. So when you are planting your garden, make sure it's not closer to heavy traffic for the cars and trucks, and and also we prevent if there's an accident. There's a road here, there's a garden here, an accident happens, somebody can come and run into your garden. So you have been planting, doing everything you want to sell, then somebody walks up, comes and walk with the car through your garden. So you'll be mad, you'll be disappointed, and so you need to consider putting away from all those issues which may bring you down. Protect against vandalism. There are people who really look your property and they say, oh, these are nice flowers. They can go and start plucking up. They don't know if it's carrots. They don't know if it's corn. Or some people can walk in and start destroying your garden. You know it. Vandalism is another case where people can damage your garden. So make sure you protect it by putting sign. Also, water. Water is also essential. As I said, we have 3 kinds. We have a municipal water, rainwater, and well water. And make sure it's clean, because these plants are really, you need to water them with good, clean water. Otherwise, they can even get some diseases because of the water quality. It has to be a good quality of water. The ideal watering system delivers the water to the soil without getting the foliage wet. How do you water your plant matters a lot. You don't go and sprinkle, because guess what? Try to sprinkle in a pumpkin field. you will tell me after 1 week what will happen. You know why many people, they have powdered mildew in pumpkin gardens? It's because of water. Because, the water really creates that virus, and it can destroy your entire field. And it's hard to control the virus. You can come after three years and want to plant, you find it there. Virus is very, very terrible. So when you are watering, so make sure you don't spring on the foliage of the fruit or vegetables. If it's a watermelon, just make sure it goes right in the root system. If carrots, make sure that you either water within the lines to make sure that water goes right in the roots, not on the foliage. Because the more it gets wet, the more the bacteria, the viruses, and other diseases, they come and reproduce in that wet environment, and they can contaminate, they can spray the whole entire field. The water really is like incubation for them. So make sure that watering is really good. Soak hose or handheld watering wands are the ideal watering tool. This is really when you are growing your vegetables and fruits. That is the ideal one. Avoid frequent light watering. Instead, thorough soak the soil less frequently. Sometimes because you are rushing, you put a little water down there. And again, you put a little water. That's not good. Because a plant, you are kind of, imagine if in the morning they brought us a little piece of pizza. And around 11, a little piece of pizza. And around 1, a little piece of little. We're supposed to be hungry again, and I was not going to be presenting. So that's the same with the crops. Fruit crops should not be allowed to wilt between flowering and fruiting production. Why? Why do you think? Excellent. Well, if I was giving a grade, I was going to give you an A grade. Because they are not going to produce a good fruit. They need water, because the fruit, it has, I would say, 80% is water. So if you don't, if you're growing fruit, if you're growing, let's say, watermelon, and it's drought, there's a drought, guess what? Your watermelon is going to be dry. It's not juicy. It doesn't contain enough water. That's why you need to put enough water on whenever it starts to flower. And let's talk a little bit about the soil quality. In some areas, soil can present unique challenges, including contamination. So make sure you don't plant your vegetables and fruits in contaminated area, especially those who are in urban areas, who are growing stuff in the urban areas. Make sure you do soil testing. Soil testing is essential. This makes it critical to test the quality and the toxicity of the soil where you want to operate. So make sure before even you start operation, go and do soil testing. There are different areas, and I shared some where you can send your soil to be tested on a cheaper price. And I think University of Kentucky also have some program. it depends on what are you are, when you are doing soil testing, what do you want to know from your soil? Is it heavy metals? Is it enough nutrients to grow the plant? So if you are here, what we are talking about the heavy metals, because those are really the most critical, which even they are harmful to our bodies and harmful even to the plants. So I think UK really, I saw the website that they do testing, and I believe once you send your soil down there, they can test and tell you heavy metals and even the nutrient composition of your soil. Yes, if you are in the urban area, the heavy metals, because there's some companies. I mean, some areas where there were some manufacturing firms where there's some heavy metals. There were some heavy metals there, so you need really to make sure that are tested. So those are some of the areas where you can send your soil to be tested, and they can give you recommendation. You can also contact your local cooperative extension office to learn about affordable soil test. They can help you to navigate, because it can be expensive depending on where you are sending your soil sample. And they will tell you how you do soil sampling. Yeah, it's good to know even how do I do soil sampling. You don't just pick the soil and go. They tell you the strategy to know, to make sure that the results you get really reflect what is out there in your field. So pH level for most vegetables and fruit should be between 5.3 and 6.5. If it's beyond, then make sure that you consult your extension officer or you do soil testing. If it's below that, it might be harmful. It's too acidic or too basic. So either you want to apply lime to bring the pH up. That's some of the soil amendment. So those are like 8 peat moss, compost, organic matter, compost manure for clay soil, lime and organic matter best added in fall. So if you want to do it in the fall. Why in the fall? Why do we do it in the fall? Nothing will be growing. There's no activities in the fall. So you put it there, and it takes time to break it down and go and balance the pH. Because if you put lime right now and you want to grow, you are killing your plants. Because you might find that some areas, some spot where it's nowhere mixed. And it's either high, pH is high or low. So good response. So you put in the fall because no activities. Leafy vegetable benefit from a side dressing of a balanced 10-10-10. What's 10-10-10 means? 10-10-10. 10-10-10. Excellent. Excellent. Nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So most of the vegetables you find on a bag for fertilizers, it be written 10-10, different numbers. So you need to know how you read even those. Vegetable grown for fruit, roots, bulb benefit from a side dressing of 5-10-5 fertilizers. So which means they need more phosphorus. So that's how we interpret. So fertilizer seedling grown into after first two leaves appear. Plants benefit from the application of a starter fertilizer at planting. So these are fertilization rules you have to follow. Apply to leafy crops after they are well established. Don't just go when they are not yet established and they start applying. When they are well. Why do we have to do that? Why do we have to apply these fertilizers when they are well established? Right. Otherwise, you can kill them. If they're still small, you can kill them. So how do we become successful vegetables and fruit growers? Follow instructions. That's why I say it's too general, but we can have one-on-one discussion. Yeah. Fruiting crops should be side dressed after the first fruit is set. Why? We have to put, when the first fruit is a side dressing, which means you are put on the side. Why do we have to do that? And what is the reason to do that? So there's a reason. How about putting the top? We can kill the fruits, right? We can destroy the flowers. We can, when we are putting that. And another thing we need to make sure is site preparation. How do you prepare your site? Again, it depends on the nature of your site. Rain needs to be prepared well prior to growing. You don't prepare and you are planting. If you haven't started to prepare your soil right now, we are close to April 20th, where everybody should be planting. So this is the time to prepare your soil if you haven't. So prepare prior. And the reason to prepare ahead is to allow the soil really to rest, to start like the worms start moving around, making the channels, water, the air circulation. That is the reason. Because if you are doing it, worms they might be in one way. Those are very essential bacteria, they might be in one area. So you need to allow it to, they move around. They break the cloth, everything. Other costs include the fencing. As I talked about, fencing is very essential when you are trying to prevent these pests. You are preventing the rabbits. You are preventing the deers. Which come and, put the sign. So don't come in, You are preventing everybody not to come in your garden to make sure they don't walk in, or the kid you have planted, you prepare the soil. You don't want the kid to come in, that's inside your soil. Yeah. Getting adequate water to the site, soil amendment based on the soil testing results. So, again, you're trying to see what else do I need after you have prepared my soil. Do I need to add some organic matter to make sure the soil if it's clay, do I have to add more organic matter to make sure the soil is good? Till versus not till. Some people prefer to till the soil. And the reason why you have to till the soil, if you see your soil is compacted, you need to till your soil. If you see your soil is still good, you don't do it. Because one, the more you till your soil, the more you destroy the soil structure. And the more you destroy your soil structure, the more, it is loose. Erosion can come and water can come and take away everything. So no-till is really good if your soil is still good, and that's why it's not good to use the heavy equipment to move on in your garden, on your soil. And it's good because you are creating ecosystem down deep inside, because the worms, the more you till the soil, some worms, you are destroying that ecosystem inside the soil. So it's really good not to do till. But if you see your soil compacted, because it won't allow your plant to grow, so then you have to till. Raised bed versus vertical farming. People are now adopting the vertical farming where they grow stuff on stages. But the most common is raised beds. Greenhouses, hydroponics, aquaponics. These are many methods which you can use. Oh, I'm running away from the mic. These are the methods which you can use to grow any fruit and vegetables on a small scale. And again, I can consult. We can talk. The more you have questions, the more I feel good that maybe I can play the role while I was high. Structures. These include both infrastructure necessary for growing, such as high tunnels, storage such as cooler. The type of structures needed depend on location, types of crops grown, desired length of growing season. All this. Crops you want to grow and the length of growing season. Why do we need the crowd frames? Why do we need the high tunnels? Why do we use greenhouses? Are you planning to have a high tunnel at your farm or in your backyard? Why? You don't just put it there. If you want to grow things in the summer and you put a high tunnel there to grow things in summer, you are wasting your money. Put a high tunnel if you want to extend your growing season. If you want to grow stuff in the winter, then put a high tunnel, because you are trying to create environment suitable for some of the crops which cannot be grown at extreme weather. These are types of raised bed. Can easily be placed at any place depending on the size. So a raised bed, really, if you are doing small scale, like home consumption or just farmer's market, but not a large scale, a raised bed will be ideal when you are growing these vegetables and fruits. You can put it anywhere, in the patio, backyard, everywhere. So, very good. Soil has a good drainage. You put everything, you compost everything in the raised bed, so it has a good drainage. It's cultivation because of loose soil. Higher than in a traditional garden bed. Yeah. Studies have shown that really raised bed really has a potential to produce high yield. Compost. Do you have compost? Do you have a compost bin? Do you have a compost area? This is very important when you are planning to grow your fruit and vegetables. So, why compost? Compost is very essential, first because it helps it can play a role for soil amendment. It's very good for worms. Plan to have a compost area. Sort out what to compost and what to burn, because not everything can be composted. And some people mix up and they just throw things there and they go back and say, oh, there's too much weeds in my garden and I don't know where it came from. It means that you went and you were grooming them in your compost, and then you went back and planted. You end up growing weeds instead of crops. Consider adding worms to speed up the process. So I saw at Purdue University, where I was teaching previously, they came up with a plastic barrel where there's compost and put the worms. If speed up, it's really very quick composting. They put worms and everything, and there's some nutrients for the worms, and the worms will be eating up so quickly. Avoid mixing up with chemicals and other products that can lead to future soil contamination. So there are people who take the cans, they dump there, the paint, they dump there, everything they dump there. Yeah, you need to know that this is the good soil and should be free from any chemicals. Use compost when it is fully done to avoid weeds or other diseases. Yeah, if you see that your zucchini is contaminated, don't put in the compost, because it's going actually to groom some of the diseases. And you plant the diseases thinking it's just compost. Cover crop. We usually don't think about cover crops. Why cover crops? Cover crops are very, very essential. Enhance mycorrhizal members, add organic matter, suppress weeds. Wow, how? Do they suppress weeds? Yeah. You may ask how. Because when you plant cover crops, let's say in the fall, the weeds are not growing, especially if the broad leaves cover crop. If you leave it, the weeds will grow, will mature and die, but they are coming back. But when you cover crops, it's like another crop inside, which suppress the weeds. Increase soil aggregation, decrease nutrients loss. Actually, it works on bringing back the nutrients. Suppress nematodes. So the nematodes attack the cover crop thinking it's a crop. That's another trick I learned that why the cover crops. Increase infiltration of water, because if you put the roots cover crop, like beetroot, yeah, they create a hole. They rot inside, and they are creating a hole where the water can easily go. When the worms and they come and start eating the cover crop root, there are some areas and some tunnels created, and the water can easily circulate in the soil. Reduce soil erosion and nutrients loss. If the soil doesn't have anything on the ground, guess what? When it rains, it takes away everything. So make sure you use a cover crop. Consider mulch. Okay. Most of the time, you can go and mow it and leave it on the ground. Other time, let's say some leguminous like alfalfa. You can use alfalfa as a cover crop. So you can just leave it. If you plant it, most of the time, you can plant a cover crop over the fall, leave it being killed by winter. And that it starts decompose. When spring comes, it's already decomposed. So, or you can, the roots, you just leave it erode, and that is a nutrients accumulate. Because the role of those roots, those tubers, is to uptake the nutrients which cannot be accessible by the plant and bring it on the surface. So erode there, then the nutrients are available for the plant. So that's the ways. Okay.
Would tilling it be a factor in tilling it? Would that be a factor in helping it out?
That's why you have to consider, do I till the soil after I have put the cover crop? But if you put the tubers like cover crop, like beetroot, then you don't till. I think nutrients are not equally spread around. So you need to till, mix up all those rotten roots or tubers so that nutrients is available for. Yes, yeah, it depends. Yeah. Mulching also is essential when you're growing your vegetables and fruits, because one of the colleagues presented, you are suppressing the weeds. That's very important. Suppressing the weeds, reducing the cost, because you are not spending much money in paying for herbicide, stuff like that. So, how do we make sure that our soil is clean? Remove diseases plant from garden to prevent spread of disease. Disease plant material should not be compost, as I say. Remove weeds because they compete for nutrients and water from the soil. That's how you make sure your soil is well clean, or your area, your garden is clean. So don't mix up the disease material in your compost. Otherwise, you are going to breed the diseases. Pollination, think about pollinators. Do you have the pollinators? Because you have crops which flowering, so you need the pollinators. Selection of fruits and vegetables. Here in Kentucky, there are fruits and vegetables which are only grown here. Why? Because of the season, because of the weather, because everything you can imagine. So you don't take a tropical crop and come and plant it here, or you go and plant it in Minnesota. Yeah, it might not. So you make sure you read the seed packet to make sure that you know. Check seed catalog for crop information. Days to maturity, determinant and indeterminate, sun, shade tolerance, watering preference, disease resistance. All these are very essential. They don't put there just for fun. It's to make sure that you are successful. Yeah. Then you need to read your package. Size of plant, resistance, V, FF, what does it mean? N, what does it mean? T, what does it mean? So you need to get these terms, because the more you know them, the more you are able to be successful farmer. For beginners, you need to start small. Talk to other producers. It is okay to fail the first or the second crop. Be patient. Use extension resources. Be patient. Also, we have cool and warm season crops. So you need to know which one do I have. Is it cool or warm? And how do I make sure that I plant the right crops in the right time? Also, the vegetables and fruit, they have their calendar. Make sure you follow the calendar. That's how you are going to be successful. Make sure you do crop rotation. Put the cover crop. And what you planted this year is not what you should plant the next year. Make sure that crop rotation, you are avoiding all those diseases. you are avoiding the nutrient depletion. That's the role of this crop rotation. And I think I can shut my mouth and listen to you if you have any questions. Do we have any questions? As I said, we can have one-on-one. Okay.
When you said before for your cover crop, you had mentioned beets.
Is that like red beets or sugar beets or
Sugar beets.
Sugar beets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Besides cover crop and crop rotation, are there any strategies for, from one season to the next? If you say you're growing cucumbers in the summer and they get powdery mildew, and you know your soil's contaminated, and you know that coming up you're going to be planting bush beans or some other crop in the fall in that area, are there some strategies that you can do to amend that soil so that you're treating it, but that you can continue to use and harvest from it?
The first thing, especially if you have the nematode, for example, crop rotation, as I said, and those are only strategies. But the other strategy, which will sound not maybe good for you, is to leave the soil for a while.
Okay, so don't plant anything else?
Don't plant
Okay.
anything, especially if it was contaminated by nematode, or you have a fusarium, or just leave it a while, because those bacteria or viruses or nematodes, they are going to not to find anything to eat, because they are feeding on that. Then they die, or they move. Then you can come and plant.
Mulch in Lexington, so is it better to get the mulch from Home Depot or get the free mulch, or what type of mulch is better for putting on your crops?
The mulch which I always suggest for like garden, really the straw, wheat straw, because not only the wheat straw become more like a compost, but also they are easy to decompose. Is after a certain time, after a while, they become more like also nutrients. So they are playing like two roles. They are mulch and they are compost. There are other people who put stuff, which some wood chips, but how many years it will take for a wood chip to decompose into a compost? It will take much time. But wheat straws are really easy. They can easily, and the more the rain comes on it, it decomposes easy, and it becomes even more like a compost too. So I would suggest that wheat straw is really very good. Stop buying the mulch which has seed, because you are going to grow seed into your field. That's what I can say. Make sure you look at the bale and make sure that there's no seed, because the seed really you are going to seed, because you are putting water on that seed, and it rains, and they are there, and they can grow. And you keep on actually producing. In a few years, you'll find a lot of weeds down in your crops. There will be a lot of little crops in your weeds.
What about cardboard, and are there toxins in glues and so on in the cardboard itself?
There are many people who have been suggesting the cardboard, but I will be careful with the type of cardboards, because there's some cardboards which have some paints, and it might carry some heavy metal without knowing, and they maybe brought some products which had some leaks in the products leaked in that cardboard. So when you put inside, you are kind of, putting the heavy metals and you need, and also the chemicals they manufactured, because those are not just woods they harvest and make cardboards. They process them. There are chemical reactions they do. So when they go in the soil and decompose, they might release some chemicals. So, but I never done any research on that. But I would love to really search and see if there's any research or studies done on that. But I would be careful with the cardboards. All right. If not, then I can leave the place. Thank you.